Hello, how's everybody doing? Um, for my persuasive speech, I would be going into gun laws and gun control, and why I believe that there should be some gun reforms and just particular changes that should be going on in America. So, in the United States, it's very easy to purchase a weapon. For example, if you go to your local Walmart, it's in order to purchase a weapon, all you really need is some identification to show that you are of age. No background checks, nothing like that. That to me is could be very dangerous because you never know if that person has a particular mental illness or a criminal background at all. So what I believe America should start to pick up on gun laws from other countries. For example, in Japan, you have to take multiple tests to just ensure that you are mentally stable and physically stable to be able to have a gun. And then in Australia, automatic weapons are illegal and are only used for military purposes. So, in researching ways to improve gun safety in America, I found a report by two researchers giving us a 6 step process in lowering the rate of killings by guns. Step one, buying a gun should be like buying a car. Since auto deaths have lowered in the past 50 years because of rigorous requirements, maybe we can add that to guns since the deaths by guns have increased since '09 at a very high rate. Step two, pass gun laws that actually reduce gun violence. Start making automatic guns illegal for citizens to just get to a store. Step three, doctors can help reduce gun violence. Some states actually prevent doctors from talking to their patients about guns, even though guns prevent health risks. If doctors were required to talk to their patients about health risks, about guns ever so often, then maybe it can help reduce the violence with guns because they're given the right information on how dangerous it can be, but also how it can how dangerous it can be and how it can affect your life. Step four is invest in smart gun technology. When it comes to technology that we have now, when it comes to smartphones, stuff like that, we're able. It requires like either with iPhone requires you to have a fingerprint, passcode, even a face scan now, stuff like that. So maybe when you register with your gun, we can add smart technology like that to the gun. A fingerprint, a code, that something that you can use that is only you can use to actually access and fire that particular weapon. And so maybe it won't fall into the wrong hands because I've heard multiple stories about mass shootings that happened came from a kid who stole a gun from like his parents, and he wouldn't be able to have that access because that gun only can be registered to one person, and that one person would be the person that bought it. Step five would be eliminate funding restrictions on gun violence research. So the money going into research about guns have dropped from 1.4 billion to 22 million dollars. If there were 500 deaths a year associated with any consumer product, it would be banned, regulated, and fixed. But with guns, there's nothing. So in America, shootings are a very common thing. We all know this, and that is a very horrific statement to even say about a country that I reside in. But in America, there are 5 states: California, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, and New York. And those five states in America, out of the 50 that we have, they all came up with a cheap, effective way to put an end or try to reduce the end of these horrific shootings and killings done by guns in America. Each city in those 5 states that have the highest, no, each city in that state are required to pay a little bit amount of money to help fund research and prevention programs for the city in those particular states with the highest gun law. And from then, all cities found a dramatic decrease in gun violence. For example, with Maryland, these majors their major city for gun violence is Baltimore, which has saw over 1,000 homicides from 2015 to 2017. This sparked Baltimore to make a change. So ever since 2015, the citizens of Maryland have paid a little bit amount of money to a program that was established to help educate people on gun violence. And ever since then, they've seen a very low, like, the killings have gone down. Um, there, it was usually around 276 conflict mediations, and participants saw their outreach worker 3 or more times a week. Okay. So, open and carry of a handgun without a permit is legal in Virginia, age of 18. Um, Withstanding other applicable laws, concealed carry of a handgun is allowed for persons who hold a valid concealed handgun permit, comply with certain restrictions, or who hold positions. Now, that is a law. That is the Virginia state law when it comes to having a handgun, and I believe that's been implemented for a very long time. In Virginia, we've had, the Virginia Tech shooting that killed 33 people, and the shooting that happened in Virginia Beach, and there still hasn't been any change in the particular law in Virginia. There has to be some type of change. So, and I did a little bit of research, and I found out that Ralph Northam, there was a particular law that back in 2012 that you can't purchase an amount of weapons in a month. It got repealed, and doing research, I found out Ralph Northam is on board with getting that particular law back into place. So hopefully, with time, that will happen. So now, the first point is that more guns do not make us safer. In the U.S., there's been 78 mass shootings in a 30-year period, the most by a landslide compared to other countries. And in that 30-year period, there has also a finding that showed mass shootings and gun ownership rates are highly correlated. The more guns you have, the higher chance you have for killing to be done by a gun. The second point is that shootings are more frequent. A study shows that an occurrence from mass shootings happened between 200 days, and now it dropped from 200 to 64 days since 2011. The third point is that restricting sales work. The Second Amendment gives citizens in the United States the ability to purchase any licensed gun. This is opposite from other developing countries which have restriction laws towards any type of gun. The way America sets up its laws gives any citizen a right to purchase a gun without any training. But in other countries, there has been laws referred to a system where the person who wants to purchase a gun must surely have a valid reason to get one. For example, hunting. The fourth point is that historical comparisons may be flawed. In '08, the FBI changed the definition of mass shootings to make it more narrow. The government limited mass shootings to cases where people are in the same location. In 2013, the FBI changed the definition of mass shooting again from mass shooting to active shooter. This change means that agencies now include incidents in which fewer than 4 people died. The change definition of a mass shooting impacts the numbers in cases that would have been called mass shootings back in 2011. This affects studies of comparability of mass shootings. To help with further research, it would be nice for the definition to stay stable so we can have a clear comparison. Because back in '08, what a mass shooting is then may not be defined what a mass shooting is now in 2020. The point the fifth point is that mass shootings are not always active terrorism. On major news networks, they may describe mass shootings as active terrorism. In some cases, yes, it is the case, but most of the time, it's done by people that live in this actual country, who may look like they're from, particular countries that are outside the United States, but they were born here. Most acts of mass shootings are happening by American citizens, and it's just a matter of we have to give them the true story. We can't label a particular country or a particular type of people like we can't put that particular stereotype on certain type of people just because it happened a few times in this country. Again, most mass shootings are done by American citizens. The sixth and final point is that background checks work. Most background checks in other countries are done by having citizens trained for gun handling. And you have to also obtain a license for hunting or provide a proof of membership to a shooting range. In order to ensure the safety of America, citizens is to make a law to prove that they're capable to own a gun. Now, after all the mass shootings in America has happened, you may wonder, why hasn't there been any change? So I recently found a report that says on ABC News, giving us reasons why lawmakers have not done anything. The first reason is that it's not about guns. People think it's more about mental health. Lots of Republicans, well, not just Republicans, Democrats as well, have tried to make efforts to prevent shootings by focusing on mental health. But some research says that there is really no connection with mental health and the mass shootings. Mental health is too much of a broad statement. It's too broad. It's very hard to compare those two. The research concludes that mental health is really large. There's no way it can all be connected to the killings done by guns. The second reason is that government believes that schools have the option to arm teachers. Schools are considered like a soft target for when it comes to mass shootings, because very, very easy to get into. So I believe that to fix this problem is not really the purpose of arming the teacher, because the teacher could also be the school shooter. You never know. So what I believe is just simply putting in metal detectors, doing checks. I know it's probably difficult to really go through that, but it's not difficult. It's the fact that they don't want to feel scared coming into school, because a lot of people's school is a safe haven, and having that metal detector there can make people feel anxious, but at the same time, it's safe, because someone walks through there, they get that background check, everybody's good. Or if they walk through there and they hear the siren go off because they see metal, then because they detected the metal from the gun, they're able to handle that correctly. And I believe that's a more effective way than arming teachers, because then you have to worry about the training that they have to do to teachers. You can't just because I'm not sure if they were planning on preparing them, but either way, the teacher could be a mass shooter. Either way. Let's see. So to conclude my persuasive speech, Um, the authors of this particular article that I found suggest modifying the Second Amendment. That's where I'm going to end this particular persuasive speech on. In response to this, lawmakers decided that it would not be a good idea to change this amendment, the Second Amendment, because a well-regulated militia needs the security of a free state. The rights to bear arms should not be tampered with. But we should change the Second Amendment because the way it's set up, it does not have any restrictions, no whatsoever. There's no training, and with not having the knowledge of the gun, it can tend to go to the wrong person and be used for the wrong reason. Now, the Second Amendment has also was established back in the 1700s, where they didn't have automatic weapons. They didn't have all the technology that we have now. So it needs to be modified. And I think that really is the main issue. We need to modify the Second Amendment. Different times. I know a lot of people don't like change, but sometimes change is good. When it comes to gun restriction, I feel like that's a good thing that we need to have. So ultimately, the summary is gun just restrictions. Semi-automatic, automatic weapons should be illegal. You can only carry a handgun. I'm not saying completely make guns illegal, because what if somebody breaks into your house or somebody threatens your life? You gotta do what you gotta do. So a handgun is fine, but semi-automatic, automatic weapons, there's no need. Just leave it for the military. Also, modify Second Amendment. Just make sure that people don't fall into the wrong hands. Have more gun restriction research done, and ultimately, I feel like that will help a lot. All right, this is my persuasive speech, and hope you guys enjoy.